Were you ever worried about your own safety when you released the book for
No,
dropping? No, because
no.
it's
I
still
mean,
like you said, it's still ongoing, especially with the Mexican side of the story. Like they're slowly starting to get in Canada.
well,
So
yeah. Also, the leader or the somehow the mastermind of the Wolfpack Alliance, Robbie Al Khalil, he fled. He escaped the jail in BC. I guess 2 years ago, a year and a half ago. It was a very kind of movie type escape because he he had associates who came to the jail uh, posing as contractors.
You're listening to Board with Nelly.
Nelly here. Apologies, there were some issues with the audio. I tried my best to fix it in post, but there's still a little bit of static sometimes when Louise talks. But I hope you enjoyed the episode nonetheless, and I hope it's not too bad.
Luis, welcome back to the podcast. I'm delighted to have you here. I want to talk about, how life's been going since you've written the book. What's new? Just chat, catch up.
Yeah, well, thank you for inviting me again. Yeah, well, has been interesting life as always. Things here and there, but yeah, kind of interesting, I guess.
So you complete this book. How long did it take you to write the book?
3 years.
3 years.
Yeah.
Did it feel like 10?
Yeah, well, yeah, and it took 3 years because of the pandemic. Well, two things happened. One, the first one was my wife's cancer treatment was almost at the beginning when we started to write the book. So I had to pause at some time. I mean, I took in and out because I had to take care of her, and then the pandemic came. So yeah, it was kind of, I guess, without the pandemic and my wife's treatment, it probably will be a year and a half, probably.
She's okay? Everything's good?
Yeah, so far she's doing well. Yeah, she's recovering well so far because cancer is very, it's a coward enemy. Persistent, but it's coward.
Yeah,
it's like a coward enemy because it strikes when you didn't expect it. So one day at a time.
One day at a time. So the book comes out. How do you feel about it? Did you think about how it's going to be received? Did you have to think about, oh, is it going to sell well, or is it more like I did it, whatever happens next happens next?
I guess it was a combination of the two. First, the of course you put your soul in something and you write, or in this case the book, and you are super happy because, oh, I did it. Especially for me because it was my first book, and also, well, not my first, well, my first co-author book because I have chapters for other books, but this is like the first co-author book, and of course in a second language, which is not my first language. It's also a challenging thing. So in that sense, was very rewarding for me. But after that, then you said, well, I did it. Let's see what happens. And I don't want to think a lot about, oh, it's gonna do well or no. It's gonna be it's gonna be selling well, blah blah blah. No, I didn't want to put that pressure over me, because I know that it's the book industry is really complex. That's something that I learned in this process. It's complex and it's intricate, and it is hard. Especially, it is really really hard because so many books at the same time, and there's a lot of variables that.
It's kind of like a podcast, if I'm
yeah, exactly,
honest.
exactly. Yeah, I guess the podcast is the new
yeah.
book. industry.
Highly competitive, many different versions of it. You might not have success till many years into it. It can be very time consuming to create. I'm seeing a lot of similarities.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And also, of course, this the economic component. Whether you like it or not, there's something that says, well, I don't know, is this book gonna be something that's gonna sell or no? It's gonna be sitting in the bookstores or in the warehouses, or maybe one day I'm gonna walk into these super cheap bookstores and find my book there because nobody wants to read it. Or, I
Right.
don't know. There's a
Right.
lot of things. Yeah, but I guess
Sure.
it's kind of the podcast basically. Yeah, and I totally understand.
Not to compare the effort required to write a book and the effort required for me to talk to you. It's not the same, but
Yeah,
there's
no,
some similarities.
yeah,
Yeah.
no, I totally get it. No, and I mean, when I had my podcast, you put a lot of effort on. In my case, I did a lot of research and I have to write and blah blah blah, and then you produce, and then nothing happens, and they say, well, blah.
The easy part is the research for me because that stuff's still within my control. Like I can write down notes, I can read books, I can find interviews. It's time consuming, but it's easy. The hard part is marketing it. How do I get it? Just like it probably is for a book. It's easier probably to write the book than it is to bring it to 1 million people.
Well, I don't know, because I mean, yes, of course, there's a lot of competition, but from what I've seen is the book industry. I mean, you have a niche, right? People who likes to read whatever you are writing about: organized crime, fiction, novels, love stories, whatever. So somehow you have that captive audience, and I guess the challenge is to break that niche and to reach new readers.
Yes.
And to find people who one day, oh, interesting, I'm gonna take this. Oh, I'm gonna take a look at this book, or maybe people who is watching or is gonna be watching this podcast later say, what book or what this book about? Oh, let me go and check.
Right. Yeah, I guess we should specify a little bit. The book was about organized crime in Canada, specifically cartels, and this group of Canadians, which was the first to start dealing with foreign cartels in Canada and basically starting their own organization, right?
Yeah. Well, it's two different stories in one book. The largest story, the biggest story, is about a group, an alliance called the Wolfpack, and that's the title of the book, the Wolfpack. And this alliance is very unique, and it's kind of the future of organized crime because it's they are not limited by kingship, ethnicity, even location, because they are spread all over Canada, and basically they are bonded by greed. They are super ambitious, and they decided when there's a kind of power vacuum, little bit, or power gap in organized crime in Canada when Vito Rizzuto died, the godfather of the mafia in Canada, and they decided to, okay, let's start to, we're the new generation, let's try to do business, and they started to connect with organized crime groups in Mexico, and they started to do business with them, and they I mean, in a very short period of time they were successful, but they started to, I guess they tried to be super greedy. They didn't fully understand the world where they were getting into, and that some of them paid with their lives. Actually, still, as we speak now, there's still at least one trial ongoing in British Columbia where members of the Wolfpack Alliance are being trailed because of murders and nasty stuff. The second story, which is a smaller story, which is kind of the evolution of that, it's the case of this, or the investigation about one particular cell of organized crime from Mexico moving into Canada more actively. I guess when the Wolfpack, when the cartels found that the Wolfpack wasn't that somehow smart in a way, they decided, you know what, we already have people there. Let's go and settle. And I guess that's when the phase two, if you want to say, and they sent people to Canada. They started to work there, and they at least one cell was able to smuggle. The estimation is 20 tons of cocaine into Canada, and they were arrested. And they were,
So how long ago did this happen? Did this Wolfpack happen? How long did these? How long ago was this? 10 years ago, I believe, early 2010s or early 2000s.
yeah, ish, yeah, 2010, 2012, yeah, that kind of. But
so that's still
but there's people from the Wolfpack Alliance, because one of the things is because they are not kind of fully organized in a way in the old ways. There's people who are still working or operating in Canada, and they were at some point they joined the alliance. They said, yes, we are the Wolfpack Alliance, blah, blah, blah. But at some point, I guess when people started to get killed or arrested, they pull out and they continue to do business. And at some point, when they are arrested by the police, they say, "Oh, yeah, I was a member or I was part of the alliance." Blah blah blah. So this is kind of a evolving. Still, there's a lot of moving parts still.
Were you ever worried about your own safety when you released the book? For dropping, no. Because it's still like you said, it's still ongoing, especially with the Mexican side of the story. Like they're slowly starting to get Canada.
Well,
so.
Also, the leader or somehow the mastermind of the Wolfpack Alliance, Robbie Al-Khalil, he fled. He escaped the jail in BC. I guess 2 years ago, a year and a half ago. It was a very kind of movie type escape, because he had associates who came to the jail posing as contractors, and they came into the jail in BC, and they started to we're doing this, blah blah blah, and at some point they were able to introduce kind of these these flame cutters that you can use to cut metal, like a torch, something like a torch. So they cut some sections of the wire, and then Robbie came out, and they dressed also as a contractor, and then he fled. He escaped the jail. Actually, he's one of the most wanted men in Canada right now. The police think that he's probably in Asia, but yeah, he's over there, and we were the ones who exposed his name, and blah blah blah. So, but am I worried? No. I mean, whatever happens, right?
I mean, at this point in your life, with all the things you've told me and everything that's happened, it seems like you're mentally tougher than most people I've probably talked to. So you probably rationalize these things much better and probably sleep easier than most people would in your situation.
Maybe. I don't know. I mean, to sleep well, I don't know that, but I don't know other people. But yeah, no, I mean, I guess for me, the my personal risk assessment is different, so to speak, right? Because the things that I went through. So I guess I have a different, for good and for bad, of course.
Does this journey continue for you? Do you continue reporting on this kind of stuff? Do you want to write another book? Are you still looking to work in this space? Where do you go from here?
Right now, I am writing my memoirs.
Okay.
Yeah, and I have a contract already signed.
Oh, beautiful! Congratulations.
Yeah. With Random House again.
Nice.
They were very generous in that way. They offered me the possibility to write these memoirs. It has been a very tough process because of, I would say, maybe three things. One is, again, writing in English is complex, especially for me that I'm not a full a fully bilingual. Um, that's one challenge, especially because a memoir. When you're writing a memoir, you have to be extremely specific because you have to bring the reader into your life. So you have to provide a lot of details, and sometimes words are not necessarily. I don't have the words to explain something, so I have to invest a lot of time in that, and also, well, for lucky for me, I was able to get a scholarship from Penn Canada or through Penn Canada for the School of Writers at Humber College, and the David Smokey's the program director, and I apologize if I mispronounce his last name. But he has been extremely helpful, trying to helping me to kind of understand how to reshape my mind to write in English. And the second challenge is, well, I guess through your life, the good and the bad situations, you have something that I call a special box in your mind and in your soul. And something good happens or bad happens, you have a special box and you go and place that memory into that box, right? And if it's a happy memory, well, you just go to the box, open the box, and get that memory and relive that memory and enjoy it and feel happy, right? But the other one, the monsters, those little monsters that you have in your head, you try to keep it there, right? Locked in those boxes. And when you're writing a memoir, in my case, well, you have to go and open those boxes, and the process is tough because you have to relive experiences, moments, situations, and you have to provide a lot of details about it. So that's the challenging part because it drains you emotionally and even physically. Sometimes I write for, I don't know, 2 hours and I'm completely overwhelmed. I'm exhausted. And I said, why? Well, it's because, again, you have to you fight your monsters again.
You have to write your most horrific events in excruciating detail every time.
Yeah. For instance, I just finished a chapter where I'm describing the moment in 1996 when I was a young reporter in Ciudad Juarez, and how a series of unpredictable events put me in a position to becoming the crime writer in a city as like Ciudad Juarez that is complex, is violent, is dangerous, and how the first part was, okay, well, I'm here, I'm writing about crime, and in those days we have crime like gangs, street gangs, organized crime, blah blah blah. But in this chapter, I'm describing how out of the blue, bodies of young women started to be found with unimaginable signs of violence, abandoned in the desert, and how I was the one who went there and saw. And in those years, the relationship between the press and the police was different. So we were able to walk with the police to the crime scene and to stay. I mean, as much as you don't interfere with the investigation, but you can stay closer than you should be. So how I'm describing how I went there to the desert and found those bodies and the things that I saw and blah blah blah. So one body, 2 bodies, then another 2 bodies in a different part of the city, and then another body, and how I struggle because it was a kind of a interesting fight, and this is kind of how journalism works. Um, a fight with my editor because I said, you know what, I think this is something different. This is not like the regular violence that we have seen in Juarez before. What do you mean? I think this is a serial killer. And the debates and the arguments in the newsroom about it, and then the end of the chapter is when the fourth body, the third body in a section, but the fifth body in general is found within 30 days. And that's when I said, well, I guess, and that day I wasn't it was my day off. So another reporter went in, and I guess he didn't have the kind of the mindset of, oh, this is happening, blah, blah, blah. But, and I was there, I wasn't there to push again for the, you know what, we have to, because my argument was, I think we should publish something like, there's a serial killer in Juarez, ? And kind of a public awareness, or I don't know, to raise awareness. But my editor was, no. This is complex. We should wait. We have to be responsible, blah, blah, blah. And that fight, every time that a new body was found, and the details and the things that happened around those bodies, I was very convinced that it was a serial killer. And then what later, and that's going to be the following chapter, how when everything exploded, and that's when we had indeed a serial killer in Juarez, and how I started to reporting, and that chapter is going to be about the dilemmas of being a journalist in those kind of situations, because you get a lot of information, and at some point you have to ask yourself, should I publish this or not? Or it's going to be, I think it's going to be an interesting chapter.
There's magnitude to your words.
Yeah, exactly.
There's weight to what you decide to say, what headline you want to use.
Exactly. So yeah, that again, and that going back to those memories, and also researching, because I have to find the physical copies of the newspaper, in order to, because when I read that, I remember this day, blah, blah, blah. And again, it's kind of, it's a very hard, tough process of, internal process of dealing with all these monsters, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I can only imagine.
Yeah, and the third thing I think is, is the how are you going to keep bringing food to your family's table, right? Because this is, writing is amazing, but you still have to produce something to make money, and that's also another challenging situation, especially because, again, you are dealing with your monsters, and you are overwhelmed, you are tired, you are depressed, but still you have to do a lot of things for your family.
I can't remember, I think I saw on your LinkedIn, did you have to find a different job after the book?
Well, not through the book. Something really interesting happened. The same day that when it was our 14th anniversary of arriving in Canada. That day, I went through a supermarket to sign my contract as a janitor, because again, I couldn't find a job, blah, blah. So I said, well, let me go back where it seemed like this country wants me to be, where just cleaning. So okay, so I went there and I signed my contract as janitor, weekend janitor, and then the next day I went to Ottawa to a conference of activists in exile, So it was very weird experience for kids. One day you are signing your contract as a janitor. The next day you are in a University of Ottawa, surrounded by marvelous, talented people, and in a conference and talking about journalism, press freedom, human rights, blah blah blah. And also the documentary where I'm in, The Cost of Freedom, was also presented in that conference. Okay, so the conference happened, passed. I came back to Toronto, and on my first day as a janitor, I just took a photo of there's a machine to use to clean the kind of mop or swipe the floors. And I just tweeted about it. I just put a tweet about, here I am back after 14 years, blah, blah, blah. That's it. I just, shut down my window, keep doing my work. And then at the end of my shift, when I was on my way home, I just checked my Twitter feed, and it was burning. I had like 500,000 of interactions, and I don't know, a lot of comments, thousands of comments, good, bad, and worst. And it was insane. It was very, very weird experience. So through that experience, I think someone read the tweet and found someone. Talked to someone.
What was the tweet? What was the tweet?
Eh?
What was the tweet exactly? Do you remember? What was the?
Yeah. I can tell you right now. The tweet that let me see. And if I open a new window in my computer, it's gonna block your the camera. No?
I think you'll be okay. I can also. I mean, you know what? I can also look it up.
Yeah.
I'm curious what the tweet was. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it on your pinned? Is it a pinned tweet?
No. I didn't pin it up, but I can. If it was on the 14th of September, no, September 27, 2022. That was the day. Because that
oh man, there's a lot of Tigres.
Oh yeah, well yeah.
I'm a big Tigres fan.
Yeah, I am. I have to. I mean,
it's all good. Your most viral tweet is not even pinned. That's pretty funny.
Yeah,
the book is more important, I assume.
Yeah, exactly. I mean that tweet was just like a random.
It doesn't matter. So it was about the machine that cleans the floor at the school or at the place you worked at, right?
Exactly. Yeah, it was more of a cyber rant.
Okay. You know? Just about your life and how you got to this point, almost. Yeah.
Exactly. So it was more about how I ended up after so many years of trying
20 plus years of journalism, and you're being a janitor.
Yeah, and then applying and studying, getting 2 master degrees, and still nothing, right? And it was very hard for me to. I had a very long and excruciating internal debate to if I should apply or not, because I said, well, I don't know. Going back again to this, blah, 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 blah. But at the end, I said, well, you know what? I have to do it. I mean, I have to do it. I need to work. My family needs money. I need money. So whatever. So, yeah.
So what happened after that? Yeah.
Well, what happened after that, a few days later, I got an email from another journalist who is also teaching at TMU now, Toronto Metropolitan University. And she said, oh, we have a position for a teacher assistant at the School of Journalism. Would you be interested? Yeah, of course. Of course I'll be interested. And yeah, so I decided to apply, and I was able to get, and I got this job for 1 term only as a teacher assistant for or at the School of Journalism has like a newspaper, kind of a newsroom, basically. And in that newsroom, they have it's more like a pretty much like a newspaper or like a newsroom. They have students, and we as teacher assistants are helping them to okay, how do you approach to this? What do you need to do? Blah blah blah. Da da da. This and and it worked. It was good. It was very good for me because again, going back to somehow journalism, getting the possibility to engage in journalism thing, talking to young students about the challenges of journalism, sharing my experiences as a reporter, but also as a photographer. It was good. It was really good. Then after that, I was able to go to still in TMU to go and talk about in those days where I don't know if you were aware of 20-something immigrants died in Mexico in a fire. They burned the jail or the detention center where they were arrested in Juarez, and they died because the police didn't want them let them out, and because of that, it was kind of an invitation to go and give a conference about.
I didn't hear that story. No.
Okay, well, it was about the migrant crisis in Mexico and about Mexico and Central America. So I was there. Also, what else? Oh, also I was asked to write something for kind of similar about my experience for Maclean's, the store, the magazine. I was able to write. They have like a section called my arrival, and they usually have a reporter interviewing an immigrant, and they write. But in this case, I was the first one who said, "You know what? You're a journalist. You can write this." And they asked me to write this piece. And yeah, so those things. But
so how long did you work as a janitor? Was it a week? How long did you work as a janitor?
No. I worked for 3 months.
3 months, okay.
Yeah, because I waited. I mean, I have to wait until the term began.
Sure.
Yeah. So they said, well, and I said, well, but it was. I mean, it was tough. It was really tough. I started. I worked from 6:30 to 3:30. Saturdays, Saturdays, Sundays, and sometimes Monday. But I have to leave my house around 5 because I have to walk and then take night bus to another bus. For instance, that was very interesting because I was able to see the homeless crisis in Toronto, which is bad because how homeless use public transportation as shelters, but that brings a different more challenges because there's people getting into those, especially at night. There's no subway, so they have to take the bus. But the bus is they have homeless people. Some of them are intoxicated, and it's complex. It's really complex.
It's gotten worse since the pandemic, or after the pandemic. It's a lot worse.
Yeah, I guess. Well, I guess. Yeah, I guess that's what happened. Also, after that, I was surprised in a good way because I was nominated and awarded to be included as one of the 10 most influential Hispanic Canadians of 2022.
Wow!
Yeah, that was very
incredible.
Yeah, it was.
And you won.
Yes, yeah. It was. I was.
Wow.
There was a lot of nominations, and from them 10, and I was one of those 10. And to be.
Is that to be recognized? Is that for your work, for your journalism, or for the book, or how did this happen?
Well, supposedly this is more about the impact that you had as an Hispanic Canadian in Canada within the Canadian society. In this case, because of my journalism and a little bit of I can say activism, quote unquote, in human in press freedom, blah blah. But also, I get also of course is the the book because it's a book that is. I mean, it's a book in doing well and exposing things and yeah, I guess that's okay.
So the book is doing well. That's great. The book is doing okay.
Yeah, it's doing well. Yeah, it's doing well. Um, yeah, and yeah, so that's so far where I am now. What else? No, I think
So what happened after that? You're now in Austria. Did you continue working as a teaching assistant, or what are you doing now? I guess.
No, I'm here. I'm here because I'm basically how do you call that? There's a word that I'm
Conference.
no piggyback when you the thing
piggybacking. Yep.
yeah, kind of because my wife she works for Lufthansa and she got this kind of invitation to come to Germany and Austria to get to know the airports and to meet with people and blah blah blah. So she says, "Well, let's go. I mean, we can get super cheap tickets and let's go."
You're here just a little mini vacation for you.
Well, yeah, kind of. Let's
That's
say
good.
it was my Father's Day's gift, so to speak.
Beautiful.
Yeah,
Beautiful.
kind of. Yeah. So yeah. This is where I am now, and yeah, that's why I'm here. I'm not confident. I wish I would be. Yeah,
In terms of work, what are you doing from now for now?
basically, I'm just writing and trying to stay alive.
Yeah.
That basically I am. I was able to get a small grant from the Ontario Council for the Arts, and that was helped me to that helped me to, to at least to pay my credit card monthly payment.
Are you applying to more grants now? Is there more grant opportunities, or is that something you've always done? It's just you've had more success lately?
The thing is, uh, you know what? It's one of the things that I have learned in this writing world is there's a timing, kind of speak. There's kind of a timing where you have to organize yourself to be able to fit the timing of when the big grants are open. I learned that in a bad way because my book is not my writing or my the writing process of my book is not fitting into those timelines. So basically, the only grant that I was able to get was from the Ontario Council for the Arts, which I'm really grateful for because at least it's helping me to at least cover my my credit card.
I think your story and your life, from what we've talked about for now, like 3+ hours, there's definitely, and there's a lot of construction, I apologize, outside of my apartment, but your life is so fascinating. The biggest challenge is how to get it to more people. And that's even a challenge I have with the podcast. Like, I think I listened back to our old episode, and I think some of the stories, some of the things you've said are very, very interesting. And I know that a bigger audience would be interested. The question is how to bring your stories to that audience. That's always the challenge in digital marketing.
Yes, and also I guess the second part of the challenge is finding someone who is able to trusting me in that case, trusting me not because of oh as a journalist, so trusting me as a person in the sense that so he knows, for instance, he knows how to work under pressure, he knows how to deal with this, he knows how to deal how so maybe he could be a good asset for my company, which is not related to journalism. Maybe related to a different thing, right? And that's a challenge because I think something that happened to me is people see me or framing me only as a journalist and not as a he has 2 master's degrees, he knows about this, he speaks Spanish, he does this, he does that, he can help me this and this and this and that, but
One of the biggest struggles in life, and I've noticed around my friend group, is not just their abilities or lack thereof, it's their ability to market themselves. So knowing what you're worth and knowing how to present that is a challenge within itself. And I know this personally because when I was an engineer, I had 5 years of experience, and it was I was applying to jobs that I was more than qualified for, but I was getting rejections, maybe due to the volume of competition, but also maybe due to how I was marketing myself. And then when I switched into digital marketing, it was like 10 times easier because everything in digital marketing from that point for me was things that I did on my own. I don't have any academic accreditation for digital marketing. What I've built is from my own blood, sweat, and tears, if you want to say. So it was a lot easier to go to a company and say, look, I built this from the ground up. Here's some proof of my work. Here's the success. I can literally recreate the same thing for you. And that yielded way more callbacks, way more interviews in a field where I don't have any accreditation. I have zero proof that I don't have any schooling for marketing or digital marketing. But my return was 5x. Like I was getting 5 times the call. So think about that. Like I have an engineering degree, 5 years of experience, and I'm getting rejected 5 more times than I am for jobs where I have 0 accreditation and just my own little YouTube channel that I've built.
Yeah. And in my case, I tried that, and I don't know, maybe I did it wrong. When I created my podcast, one of the reasons to do that was when I switched from personal stories. When I switched to kind of general context and information and Latin American issues, one of the reasons was to show, I know about the region. I know how to do research in the region. I know how to understand the region. Because again, I have a master's degree in global affairs. So say, maybe this could be a good way to approach the people and say, you know what, you have a company, you need people in Latin America or to understand Latin America. I can do that for you. You can check my podcast and you can create. This is a proof that I understand things, right? But unfortunately, again, it didn't work out. And I don't know. I mean, of course, age is also a problem, right? I mean, I'm 52 years old, getting harder and harder. So I wish I could be, younger or to do things differently. But it is what it is. So I guess one of the lessons that I'm learning now is how to deal with all these, aging and the lack of.
The other thing is it's maybe you want to call it a failure or lack of success is in this moment, but failure doesn't necessarily mean failure forever, right? So it's a conversation I've had with a few people. It's very interesting because you can have a podcast, let's say in 5 years, just like you can have a book. It doesn't sell anything. It could sell 0 copies. And in your mind, you can think, well, this book is terrible. Clearly, I didn't do a good job. It's unsuccessful. It's a failure. You would classify it as a failure. You've spent time. You didn't get any return on it. And it's a failure. But that's in this bubble of time, right? So let's say tomorrow, some random person that's a big influencer sees your book, loves it, reads it, posts it, your book blows up, it does 1 million sales. So now the book is a success. Was it always a success? It's now changed only because the variable has changed is time. So there's a lot of things in life where you invest time and you look at it as a failure, when reality is you're improving something, you're getting better at something, and it's failure today might not be failure tomorrow. And there's been many events in life that happen like that.
Yeah, one of the many lessons that I have learned in being a refugee is that time is I mean, failure and success are not forever, and also you have to be ready for both when you're successful, but also you have to learn and to be prepared when you fail. So yeah, I'm kind of I understand that, and I know. And for instance, in the book, I trust that this book is gonna be, again, as you said, maybe not now, but maybe later. It's gonna be an interesting piece of information, maybe for academics, and they want to incorporate that knowledge into their own classes. I think it's gonna be interesting. For instance, I had the opportunity to talk with few police officers in Canada, and they were like, "Wow, this book is really good, man." And they were like very interested in that. And they said, "Oh, well, thank you, no, thank you for doing this," and blah blah blah, which is good. So yeah, I mean, yeah, this is that's life. Actually, that's my favorite song. "That's Life" by Frank Sinatra. You know, it says,
That's life. Yeah.
yeah, you know, I mean, up and down, over and out.
Yeah.
And you have to pick yourself and get back to the race. So,
do you want to do more crime journalism in Canada? Do you want to keep reporting on let's say the potential rise of cartels in Canada and stuff like that, or no?
yeah, I can do that. I like to do that. One, because I know the context. I think I understand the context. But I'm not. But I'm also. I have a small. I write a column in a newspaper in Mexico. It's a regional newspaper that it's on Monterrey or Nuevo León, the eastern, northeast Mexico, and Tamaulipas, which is northeast the border. And I originally I was invited to write about sports, Tigres, but the director is a good friend of mine, an old colleague, and he said you can write whatever you want. So from time to time, I also write about crime, politics, things like that. So yeah, no, I'm open to whatever life throws at me. But yeah, of course, I mean, I can. Crime is.
What is your outlook? What is your outlook today? Has it changed since we last talked about 2 years ago? What is your outlook on Mexican cartels, the cartels in general? I mean, you said you don't like to use the word cartel because it's lost all meaning, but what's the situation? What's the biggest topic story in this field now?
Right now, I think it's the impact of organized crime in the presidential election on 2024, and how organized crime has been accessing through money or through fear local politicians, and how this influence is going to shape the next federal election
in America.
In Mexico. No, in
Mexico. Mexico.
Yeah, that's in Mexico. In America, okay, the United States is now debating on, and there's this hypocrite debate of, oh, we have to go and fight the cartels, you know, all this rhetoric from the Republicans, and a little bit of talking about that from the Democrats. But for me, that's it's pure there's hypocrites, because I haven't heard like a strong initiative. Oh, we need to find ways to treat fentanyl addicts in the United States. And actually, fentanyl became an issue in the United States not because of public health. I think it became an issue because it started to make U.S. cities ugly, like San Francisco. Like, oh, there you go.
Actually, funny enough that you, sorry to interrupt you, funny enough that you're talking about this. My last guest was a person that was a salesperson for a company called Insys, which sold essentially a product which was fentanyl. It was like a fentanyl spray you put under your tongue. And the big reason, if I'm sure you know, maybe you don't, but the big crisis is actually legal opioids.
Yeah,
and it happened 20 years ago with the Sackler family and Purdue Pharma. They started selling OxyContin. And basically, the reason we do have an opioid crisis today in North America, well, America specifically, is because they marketed it falsely. They started giving people with regular back pain these opioids, and then they became highly addicted to them.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And that's part of the hypocrisy of the United States.
Hypocrisy. Yeah, you're right.
Hypocrisy of the United States. They talk about it, but they don't put a lot of emphasis on that. Because it's more, they get more political revenue from, we need to secure the border. We have to fight the cartels. We have to send drones to Mexico to blow them up and blah, 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 blah. So, but they don't speak about it. And again, I agree. I mean, for me, I think now the conversation about fentanyl is not because it's killing people. It's because it's making U.S. cities look ugly. That's the reason. Because they have these massive groups of people on the streets,
Oh yeah, like San Francisco or any of these places are completely destroyed.
And all these places, that's the reason. And another part of this rhetoric is guns again. Guns, cartels are killing Americans and they are killing Mexicans, but they don't really like. Okay, we are going to do this to stop selling guns to cartels, and I don't think organized crime. I mean, we have to do, because if they really want to do something, they have to change legislation about guns and those things, but they don't want to.
And that's not going to happen ever in America.
Of course, yeah. So
one death is a tragedy, 1,000 or 1,000,000 is a statistic, right? That's the old expression, and that's how America functions.
Exactly. And as soon as it doesn't happen here, it doesn't matter. So they don't care. They don't really care what happens in Mexico.
And the scale of the opioid crisis is actually probably 100 to 1,000 times worse than anything coming out of Mexico or any of the migrant problems, because the opioid crisis is believed to be like $1 trillion if you can put a price on, not on human life, but on the damage it does to societies with homelessness, with people, overdosing hospitals. There's a million implications with what happens after an opioid crisis, but it's costing America trillions of dollars in its ability to handle this crisis.
Yes, but also one of the questions here is, are they really interested in paying those dollars or no? Do they care? Maybe they don't care. Maybe they said, let them die. It's going to be cheaper for us as a society to let these people die of overdose, because there's one less.
It's all one big. I've talked about this with the previous guests as well. It's one big game, realistically, because the companies like the Purdue and the Sacklers, these people that have ungodly amounts of money, are fully aware of what the implications are of the opioids they're selling, and they're okay with paying the fines eventually, which they will get, because they are, at the end of the day, just fines. It's just a small slap on the wrist. You can fine them $6 billion. It doesn't matter. They already took $10 billion out into their own personal funds, so it's irrelevant. Exactly. So they take that risk fully knowing what's going to happen. And then from the government's perspective, on a human level, I'm sure like the DEA agents, I'm sure the people behind this are good people. They want to stop their communities from being ravaged by opioids. But on a high level, the government's like, well, we're going to let them do their thing for a little bit. Then we're going to take our cut. We're going to take a $2 billion fine, and that's money we get out of that. So, and then they just keep playing this cat and mouse game. It's just it's an illusion of one side caring. No one cares in in the grand scheme of things. It seems.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, Traffic. Have you seen Traffic? The movie Traffic.
No.
Okay, watch it. It's old. It's like I don't know. It was made in the 90s, probably. Benicio del Toro, Michael Douglas. It's good. It's really, really good. That's for me one of the best movies about drugs and organized crime made. It's really good. Watch that movie, and you're gonna be surprised. Like, oh, this movie's from the 90s, and we're still in the exact same place. So nothing.
I think as a society, as humans, we think that everything is improving and everything is getting better. But if you study history, you do start seeing patterns in human behavior. And the empire that's currently on top thinks it's an empire that will always stay on top. And then, time, as we talked about earlier, plays a role, and that changes. And that's why every empire comes to an end.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. No. It's very interesting. And for me, it's amazing how after all these years of watching these things closely, essentially nothing has changed. So
that's got to be really, I don't know. That's got to be shocking, tragic. I don't know. I'm not finding a good word for it. Disheartening.
Yeah. There's a very ancient book called or concept from an Italian author, which in Spanish is called gato pardo or gatopardismo, which means let's change everything in order to change nothing. That's going to be, I guess, the proper translation. And yeah, it's when you said, "Oh, gato pardo," it's gatopardismo, which means we're gonna change this, and that, but the real level of things, nothing changes. So this is pretty much how the U.S. is dealing with the violence, drugs, guns, and all in between. Yeah.
I don't want to end this on a negative note, so let's give me something positive to go home with, something good in life that you're going through. I don't know.
Something like that I'm alive, I guess. That's something
fair.
That's something good for me. And then I'm writing my memoirs, I guess. That's hopefully there's going to be something that people find interesting.
I hope more people see your story. I really do. And I'm going to work on trying to figure out how to market these episodes better and get them to a bigger audience, because you do have a crazy story. As perfect timing as I'm being interrupted, some banging on my window. That sums up your life, doesn't it? I've been trying to give a praise here and I can't even do that. But no, I do think you have a crazy story. And I listened back to our old podcast, and I think there's just so much interesting conversation and life experiences only you can tell. And it's just a matter of how do more people hear it. So
yeah,
that's going to be my focus going forward with these episodes and guests. So
yeah. No, let's see. Yeah, hopefully I have to finish my memoirs, and hopefully, I mean, I feel very honored and happy that Random House decided to bet on me with this book, because Random House is the largest publishing house in the world. So hopefully they can, something good may come out of it. And yeah, let's see if people find. I don't know. It's gonna be one of the debates when I was organizing the book proposal. Was and there's something that I learned about the American or English speaking audiences, or at least Canadian audiences. They don't like sad endings. They don't like terrible endings. And actually, now that you said, "Oh, I don't want to end this in a," but it confirms that. So I was and I was trying to, okay, what can I do in order to finish the book, the final chapter, presenting something happy or something kind of in a better way. And that was a very interesting debate. That's a very interesting debate. But and I think, well, finally, after a few consultations and talking to another Canadian writers, especially when Camila she gave me a lot of advice, and I really appreciate, and I'm going to appreciate that always, forever. And she said, "Oh, think about this, think about that. Oh yeah, I think I found the place when I need to finish this, and yeah, hopefully that is going to be a good ending story to my memoir."
Beautiful. That's a great happy ending. I hope you find that happy ending in your book and in your life in general. Thank you so much for your time, as always.
No, my pleasure. Thank you for this reconnecting. Now both are in Europe, which is also...
Yeah, let me know if you're ever in Spain. Let's do a fiesta.
Oh yeah, party. Well, I don't know. I don't know. The Spanish, yeah, they like parties, right? Spanish.
Of course. Claro que sí.
Okay. Well, hopefully next time that I'm in Europe. Yeah, but no, it's also weird, no? How life sends you to different paths. I mean, you ended up in Spain.
In Spain, I'm decent at Spanish now. I'm very fortunate.
Yeah. I can tell, and I can publicly certify that you are.
Thank you. I'll put that on record.
Yeah.
I have a Mexican journalist confirming that my Spanish is okay.
Yes, you are. Yeah, and I'm like that. You still don't get the Spanish accent or the Spaniard accent.
Yeah, I don't think I learned. Actually, funny enough. I guess we'll end the episode. I'll tell you off camera.
Okay.
But yeah, once again, thank you for your time.
No, my pleasure.